Acquiring new skills can be a tough challenge, especially when you're just starting out, because you don't know what the right progressions are, what the right form is, the requirements that you have to have first, and so on. For me personally, my training revolves all around skills. Like, I pick a goal and then I map out the steps to get there and reap all the benefits along the way. Today, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of skills that you should focus on that may seem daunting at first, and that's because they are supposed to be that way. They're supposed to challenge you and help you transcend from that beginner level to an intermediate and maybe even an advanced level already. So don't be discouraged if they seem far beyond your capabilities at first. It's all part of the plan. And by the time you actually achieve those skills, you will have mastered all the fundamentals that are required, as they are also part of the plan. So consider this video more of a rough guide, a roadmap for beginners for the next coming years, maybe. If you do seek for detailed instructions, I have an exercise library on my website that you can check out. It has most of the fundamental exercises explained in a lot of detail there, or you can just look it up somewhere else. And then one last thing before we get into it, I will be explaining these exercises very casually, but understand that it will take a lot of time and patience to even get from one progression to the other one. It's gonna take you maybe years before you actually achieve those skills, so keep that in mind and be patient with yourself. So, first up on the list is the 90-degree hold. Not to be mistaken with the elbow lever, where you have your elbows like tucked in under your body. Whenever you see someone like hang in a horizontal position with their elbows tucked in, it is not impressive. You know what is impressive? The 90-degree hold. So it will help you develop a strong core, good shoulders, chest, and triceps. To explain the obvious mechanics first, your only contact point with the ground will be your hands. You gotta have your hands under the center of gravity of your body, which is usually, for most people, around the waist. So basically, lean forward as much as you can till your feet are basically forced off the ground. Now, of course, this takes a significant amount of time and a lot of strength and muscle coordination, so we first got to build it up with some progressions. Your journey will probably start somewhere at the push-up level, or maybe knee push-ups. After that, we will want to work on progressively placing the hands more to the waist, which is called a pseudo position. Do the dynamic version where you actively do the push-up, as well as the static version where you hold your hands in a 90-degree position. Make sure you can first get your hands like as close as possible to your waist, and you will really notice the weight distribution coming from the lower end more to the upper body. Moving on to the next progression is where we start to come off the ground with little 1 to 2 second leans. So basically start off with these little holds in a tucked position, then move on to a position with your legs open, also known as a straddle position, and then finally with your legs fully closed. As time goes on, those holds will also become increasingly longer. Another great exercise that is not talked about enough, but it really should be, is to put your feet on an elevated surface. The height of the surface should be so that when you bend your arms in a 90-degree position, your body is parallel to the ground. Now, it might look like nothing is happening, but what I'm trying to do is to put as much pressure on my shoulders as I can. Keep moving your hands closer to the waist. Now also try and remember how that position feels, as it will be the exact position that you have with the normal 90-degree hold, but then without the assistance, of course. Try to do the exercise that I just mentioned in a rotation, and slowly but surely, I promise you, you'll get there. And then lastly, we also have the 90-degree hold itself. You will want to start in a tucked position again, then move to straddle, and then you guessed it, the full one. Congratulations, you've made it. A couple of things that I also want to add still is make sure to warm up before every single workout to prevent injury. Use the right form also to prevent injury, and also make sure to control your breathing. I know it's really hard, especially with like static holds where you have to stand still in one position. It feels like your head is about to explode, so make sure to keep breathing. Oh yeah, and lastly, get yourself one of these. I highly advise it. It is a resistance band, and it will make the transitioning from the one progression to the other that much smoother. So yeah, definitely a recommend. When you're training for it in your workout, start with the hardest progression, and then whenever your body gets fatigued, move a progression lower, and so on and so on. All right, the next exercise is gonna blow your socks off, and that is the front lever. Before you click away, just trust the process. It took me a good 2 to 3 years to learn before I got it like consistently, but I believe that it can be done a lot faster. Now the goal is to achieve a horizontal body position, forming a complete straight line. And I personally think that it is one of the coolest exercises out there. The lats play a significant role and will help you pull yourself up and maintain that horizontal position, whilst the scapular muscles, especially the traps and the rhomboids, this will help to keep the shoulders pulled back and down. And the last main muscle group that gets worked is, of course, the core. For the most, your journey will probably start with being able to do a couple of pull-ups, or maybe one step back, being able to do jumping pull-ups and negative pull-ups. Like I said, the lats contribute a lot to being able to do a front lever. So the first requirement is that you can really rep out those pull-ups first. Besides that, we also have scapula shrugs that will strengthen and stabilize the muscles used for retracting and depressing your shoulder. Once these start to get too easy, which will happen quite quickly, move on to hanging lat pull downs. Also try and hold that position at the top. So again, a combination of dynamic and static exercises. All right, and then the next step is where we start to come into that horizontal position. Just like with the 90-degree hold, it is all about leverage. So start with a tucked version, where you have like your knees into your chest basically. An important note is to not let your butt sag down. This will be hard to get a feel for at first. So make sure to film yourself so you know when you're doing it right, and remember that position. Practice the static version where you just hold that position, but also the dynamic version where you raise yourself up and then come back down. And then slowly extend the legs as you progress until you're in a nice straight line. A good complementary exercise is the front lever negative as well. You want to come down as controlled and slowly as possible. At first you will just drop down basically, but after a while you will start to have more control over it. Again, start with the tucked and then slowly extend the legs. Now going from the hanging lat pull down to actually bringing your legs up as well is a pretty big step, especially for your core. So you will have to train on that separately as well. Look at it as a kind of side quest. Try and learn maybe the L-sit first and the dragon flag. That will ensure that you will be clear for the road ahead. A common problem is the middle part of your body sagging down during the front lever, which is caused by a lack of lower back strength. So to prevent this, we want to incorporate exercises like Superman pumps and Superman holds. Once again, one of these is highly advisable as it will help you out a ton. And it's also relatively affordable, so I really do suggest it. And then we have arrived at the final exercise, which is the handstand push-up. It is a very impressive looking skill and it requires a lot of shoulder strength. Now there's basically two parts to this story. The first part is obviously learning the handstand. You see every calisthenics athlete on social media do this, as it is really a gateway exercise to a lot of different skills. So it is really important that you learn that skill early on in your career. It's really one of those frustrating exercises where it just takes a lot of practice. You gotta just practice, and you will think that you're doing the exact same thing as a person as in the tutorial, but you're really not, and all of a sudden your body will just get that epiphany and you will be able to do it. So stick to it. Consistency is key. Just keep practicing. Now there's also some strength required to be able to hold a handstand, but really not a lot. Some of you can probably already hold a handstand against a wall. Congrats, that's basically all the strength you need. Others might be a bit too weak at first, or might be even too scared to like be in that upside down position. In that case, start off with your feet and hands on the ground in this upside down V shape, which is also known as the pike position. After that, you can progress to an elevated pike hold. After that, maybe against the wall, but not completely stretched out. And then finally, fully against the wall. Now that is where the real challenge starts, and that is to get your body off the wall. And that's where the balancing aspect comes into play. And that's just a lot of practice, like I said. Moving on to part two, which is, well, the push-up part of the handstand push-up. Do not try this immediately because you will fall flat on your face, and I am not responsible. You will want to start with pike push-ups. Again, it's that same pike position, but this time you're also gonna come down and push yourself back up again. Make sure that your elbows do not flare out to the sides. And then for the next one, I'm hoping that you guys are starting to like catch on and see like recognize some kind of pattern and that you can guess it on your own. That's right, it is the elevated pike push-up, and then again against the wall, but not fully, and then you can do it fully against the wall. And if you already got the balancing aspect from the handstand down, I would say go for it. Besides that, well, you can split that push-up up in two parts as well. You got like the lifting phase and the lowering phase. Start with the lower or the negative phase. Once you can do like a couple of reps of these, you will also be able to do the lifting phase of it. So yeah, make sure to do these as well, as they are great complementary exercises. And then lastly, big warning, the risk of injury on this one, especially for your shoulders and your face, is really high, so take it easy. Also, a resistance band is not an option for this exercise to help you progress. Instead, I recommend to add on some weights to some easier progressions that will then help you for the harder progressions as well. So those were just 3 examples of skills that you can learn, 3 solid examples, I must say. But besides that, you can do a lot more skills as well, like to learn the muscle up or the planche, for example. And probably the progressions for those skills will also complement in the other ones, like for example the shoulder strength that you will gain from learning the handstand push-up will also help you out learning the 90-degree hold. So it's really very intertwined, and also there's nothing wrong with practicing other skills as well. Besides that, I also advise to add in some more general workouts, like add in a pull day, push day, leg day, alongside the skill training, which will complement nicely as well in just overall body conditioning. So as I said, it can be hard in the beginning to know what the right progressions are for a certain skill, but after a while, after learning a couple of skills, you start to recognize the same patterns over and over again, and it becomes pretty intuitive on what the next step is. So I hope that in this video I kind of already jump-started that process, and you can learn many other skills that I have not mentioned in this video on your own. Anyways, that was it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and a subscribe if you did. You can also comment me down below if you were to have any questions, or maybe on the forum as well, because I did not mention it. I would gladly mention it in the comments, or you can send me a DM on Instagram or something like that. Besides that, I wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Goodbye.